Over here at Next Level Guitar. Easing my way into this lesson, we're going to have a really fun time today getting into soloing with Pentatonics. And this is going to be my spin on the introduction of learning how to use Pentatonics for soloing. I will say this, at the top of the lesson there is a ton of great information about this on the website. And we are in A minor pentatonic. We're going to address a few scale shapes today, but we're going to start with our first one. Strong to that minor tonality. What I want to talk about is how to use this scale and then think of what note I'm using and put it in a different place on the guitar so I feel more accomplished. I don't feel like I'm just in this one spot all the time when I'm playing. That's the biggest thing. How can we do this? Let's just start right here on our A. Most of these licks are going to resolve and or start on an A. That's a really good way to begin with this. Check out this really simple pattern. That's my next A. In the world of music, our octaves are shaped like this on the guitar. Good, simple run. All kinds of various things that have been done with those arrangements of notes. We'll get there. We're going to go to the low octave. There's that A there. So right away now, I can connect in octaves. Started poised for the last one. And I'm getting up the guitar. Look at that. Automatically sliding out of position 1. And I'm kind of working on either side of it, but there's a lot of cool things that we could use. And we use this as a little bit of a flurry of notes that can go between our melodic ideas and a lot of times our bends. An example would be you could go. And that's a nice simple little phrase right there, working off of this structure. This is what I'm visualizing in my head, is this movement. Okie dokie. So we started with an A. Let's get out of that position. Where else is there an A on your guitar? Well, really easily we say we have the open string here, our open 5th string, and here it is on the 12th fret. Same exact motion. Finding all the ways that we could make this comfortable to ourselves. Now up here, why is this working? Well, pent means 5, so I have 5 positions of this scale. And I'll get into the scale shapes here in a minute, but I just kind of want to talk about the flow of the lick. Good way to get used to sliding. Position shifting in guitar is difficult at times, so you want to use these wide stretches or jumps between notes here to keep even pressure on your finger as you do so. Okay, so I'm using technically this pentatonic scale. And I'll be honest, I was well into my career as a guitar player way before I learned the rest of my pentatonic forms. That's just a horrible thing to admit as an adult, but man, it's true. And when I learned them later, I realized, oh my gosh, all these licks that I've ripped off from so many different people, that's where they were. That's how I survived. I survived by not knowing the scale shapes, but knowing licks from my favorite guitar players and how they use them. And I knew how to shift them from key to key. So that's why this makes so much sense to me, because I knew that I could go, and I had my octaves everywhere. I always just said, oh man, well if I could do it here, I could do it here too. And that worked for a long, long period of time. But what I advanced myself in eventually was thinking, okay, well, if I'm doing this lick, and that's a great one to practice because you get the separation of the notes as you do it. I'm going to say really easily or ask a question. How many of you out there, when you bend a string, you feel that above string pop off your finger and make some extra noise and you're like, yeah, what am I doing? Are you sure I'm doing this right? A lot of times that happens. And, you know, you can't be timid when you go for these kind of things. When I go for that bend, look at where my first finger is. My first finger is supporting, but at the same time, it's kind of muting some of these lower strings. So as I come down, I'm going to come off that string. It's resting right there, just enough to block it, so I'm not going to get that popping noise off of my guitar. A lot of times, you know, if you go for your bends and your technique is this way, and you have your thumb back there, you may get a little bit more movement. Like if I bend it, I can just see it. That string is so close to my nail when I go to bend right there, that when I come down, it's going to make that noise, and that's what happens. So you see that. I'll do it again. You just hear that sound. So I'll always tell people, maybe, you know, grab the guitar and, you know, hold on to it for dear life. Bend one of those notes. And you're going to focus it. Look where the lines on my hands are. It's a little bit more in this meatier part of the tip of my finger. So that way when I'm grabbing it this way and I'm pivoting what feels like from this point of my hand, I'm stretching it up, I'm not going to hear that noise when I come down from my string. And I have this blocked out there. In this position, I get those nice separation of notes. Now in this position I can go, jump straight to here. Now bending high enough to the pitch is so important, and feeling the tension of the vibrato. If I'm up here now in this different scale shape, this is what I have. That's the same as. So I've got some cool ideas in different places. Now, if I'm up here, I'm going to play different. I'm going to react different than I am down here. The tension of the guitar is totally tighter, you know, here. And up here it's a bit looser. I might get more aggressive and or ambitious with some of my bends. And I've got the same ways that I can resolve. What are those ways? Let's see here. Now that's a nice coming off of that before. Now, those are kind of like one little section or mental block in my head of how I like to function around pentatonics. Using these ways to get around, and I'm thinking, and I've got those in two different places. I'm a huge fan of incorporating the blues scale with it. It looks like this. I like that flat 5. I like sliding into it and pulling into that note. Well, that's right here. That's also right here. So I've got a little bit more to work with, you know? All these neat places to mess around. A lot of people don't, you know, you learn these licks and you just don't think about it. You're like, oh my God, that's the same thing in a different place. Until somebody points it out to you, you just, sometimes you don't know. So we've got some cool movement in there, and we're getting out of our normal position. Now, how can you practice this? Well, we've got jam tracks here at the website that are great for this, right? And they put you in tons of different styles and all kinds of keys and positions. The documentation on those jam tracks, I gotta say, here's my sales pitch form, is fabulous. It tells you everything you need to know, right on point and really, really easy to use. What I like to do, strum out a chord. How many different ways can you do that? And you take that information. Blues is taking really simple ideas and milking them for all they are worth. And that is a really good way to approach it. But we're moving around, we're doing some different things. these things are encouraging you, hopefully, to try out a new position on the guitar that you may not have thought of before. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.